Hello there survivors, welcome back to another build tutorial in ARK Survival Ascended. Today I'm going to show you how to build this all-in-one steampunk base using mostly the steampunk cosmetics from the Bob Trolltail DLC as well as a little bit of the Frontier ones. Now in these shots you see some windmills and stuff like that. That's for mods. Those are additional details that you could add but you don't need to, so you can still build this unofficial as well. The mods that I used for those windmills are Castlecraft Deco as well as the Castle Keeps and Forts mod. I also used some additional steampunk decor to decorate the base, but as I said, that's all not necessary to make a really cool base because the most things you need are of course the skins from the Bob Trolltail's DLC. Now to make it as easy as possible, everything that I'm skinning into steampunk, I'm building out of stone in the tutorial, and everything that we want to make look like the Frontier wood or the Frontier glass, we're gonna make out of wood. So this base has pretty much everything you need. It consists out of two different parts, of course, the main building with all of the room for your crafting, storage, living quarters, you name it, as well as some platforms to park your flyers, and then of course we've got the tower that's more dedicated to breeding, hatching your creatures, as well as a little bit of an extra spot for extra flyers as well up on top of the tower. And of course it's a great place to look around and enjoy the surroundings of your base. As always, if you enjoy seeing these build tutorials and you want to continue to see more, don't forget to leave a like on the video and of course subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future builds. And feel free to leave your suggestion for future builds that you would like to see down in the comments below. And if you do end up building this and you want to share the result with me, feel free to join my Discord. It's linked below. There's a channel there to show your ARK builds. Okay, so for this build, I'm not actually using any foundations. I build it completely on pillars, so it's a lot easier to build it pretty much anywhere, as the landscaping really doesn't matter because you can just go higher or lower with the pillars that you have. Yeah, that means you can pretty much build it everywhere, so you just want to make sure that you kind of guess how high your build needs to be, and you want to start with one pillar somewhere to start the whole foundation. Of course, you can build it out of foundations if you want to and you find a flat spot. We start by adding in a line of 9 in total. In this case, of course, we will have to add a bunch of pillars in to get the support every time. But yeah, we want to make sure that this is 9 wide in total to get us started over here. So we'll just fill these in. And then on this side, we want to make it 12 long. And of course, every time after 3, we will need to add in a pillar if we're building this on pillars. So yeah, every 3, we will need some supports. But we want to make this 12 long in total. This is going to be, of course, for the main building itself. And then we're going to slowly work our way towards where the tower will be. So yeah, that should be 12 in total. Then of course we can follow this around again and also fill in these sides to get the 9 wide again, just as we did on the other side, and add in the pillars each time to get the support that we need. There we go. And then of course we want to basically start filling this in. What you can also start doing now is just start filling in this thing entirely. If you're building this on pillars, what you might want to do is just keep this grid going. So every 3, you just want to add in some pillars. You might not need them all, but of course it's just a lot safer having them just in case if one breaks, not that much of your base will lose support, or maybe nothing at all. So just a lot safer, making sure that you add in all of the pillars below to get as much support as possible. So yeah, every 3, we're just going to add in these pillars to create our support for our base. And if you don't like the look of seeing these pillars, of course you can fill in the sides as well with walls eventually, to kind of have some cleaner look rather than it being very open. But I'll leave that up to what you prefer. For now, we'll just keep going, filling in these different sections and adding in our pillars every time to make sure that we've got all the support in the world and that we hopefully don't need to worry about anything if something happens. So yeah, then we should reach the other side and we have supports everywhere for this main building. So that's the start. There will be a few additions on the side still here and here to, of course, make an entrance and make staircases into the building. So you'll need a little bit more space on both the front and the back of this building, but you can definitely determine how much you want to use by having some variations in the staircases you can design. Then over here in the middle, we want to add another part of 3. So just like this. And then we'll add in some more pillars, of course, to get our supports. And this is also where we're going to start the main tower platform. So we want to start with a layer of 3 ceilings, again, or foundations if you're building it on the ground. And then we're going to go into triangles here on the outside. We also want to make sure that we have 3 of those triangles on the outside. We're going to do the exact same thing there. And then we're also going to add in the triangles right over here. So now we can add 2 ceilings there. We can have 2 over here and 2 more over there. Then we need some more support. So right here in the middle of these 2 ceilings, we want to add in a pillar just like that. And then we can continue by adding in some triangles here. We can add in the triangles there as well. Same over here. Then we should be able to add in our full ceilings again. 1 over here again. And then we can have 1 triangle there and then 2 triangles there. Then this is where we want to have another pillar. So that's going to be the exact middle of the tower. Now that we have this, we can go around, add in the full circle of triangles here, and then have a full ceiling at the end of each of these. Then in between, of course, we can fill it in with triangles again. And on the ending of all of this, we can also add in our triangles just like this. There we go. And then, of course, we can continue this pattern. So we have some full ceilings in between. And before we can add in any more, we want to go in the middle of these triangles every time and add in our pillars to create the support all the way around this tower. So everywhere we want to start adding in our pillars in the middle of these triangles, just so that we get the support everywhere. And once you've done that, you should be able to add the full ceilings to the end of these triangles to continue this pattern all the way around. And then, of course, in between, we can add in our triangles at the end here as well. You can also add in our triangles like that to just continue the shape as we build out this entire circular shape. So there we go. We do the same thing over here. Just continuing this shape all the way around until we meet up with the part that we started with. Then we can take out our ceilings. We should be able to add in them here, over there as well. Same over here. And we can just go all the way around, adding in these ceilings where we want to. And now we're almost getting to the end of this circle. So all we need to do now is fill in the last remaining triangles in between these sections. And then we've got our entire circle ready to go. There we are. So we'll do that on all of the different sides. There we go. And then we want to go to the end of each section where we have the full ceilings and add some pillars on the corner as supports to go down. Technically, we don't need them, but it looks a little bit better, of course. And again, just feels a little bit safer having as much support as possible. If one pillar happens to break, nothing should happen yet. So we'll just add in all of these all the way around on each of the corners of the full ceilings. There we go. Then over here at the end, we want to add in 3 more ceilings just like this. And we're going to do the same thing here on the other side. Then we can take our triangles and go around the corner and go all the way up to there. Same thing over here, all the way up to this corner. On the other side, the exact same thing. We'll follow this along to that corner. Same thing over here, all the way to that corner. Then we can take out our stairs, and then we can have a staircase coming down from there all the way until you reach the ground. Same thing over here. Of course, depending on how high you've built it, this stair might be a little bit longer. I wouldn't go too much higher than like maybe 3, maybe 4 if necessary, because then, yeah, the stairs are going to have some issues if you build them like this. Same thing over here. We'll add in our staircase. There we go. On this side as well, just adding them all the way in. Okay, then here on this front, we're also going to extend the platforms. You can, of course, definitely choose for different variations of entrances. I'm just going to show you the examples that I used myself. For now, we're going to expand this by 3. Then, of course, we'll need another pillar. So we'll make sure that we connect that back down. We have another 3 going out. And then, of course, another pillar connecting back to the ground. Then on this other corner, we're gonna of course do the same thing. So bring out by 3, add in a pillar right here, then bring out another 3 and add in another pillar right over here. Then of course we want to make this 3 wide and start filling this in all the way back to the base. And the same thing over here. Basically, we're making some extra platforms that can be very useful to park some of your flyers, or maybe have your forge on the outside if you want to. Like, there's many things, of course, you can do with this. We want to add in these triangles at the end to kind of round it all out. And then, of course, on the insides here, we want to make sure that we also have the pillars after every 3. To make sure that this is all nicely supported like this. Then over here on the inside, we want to add one more layer of full ceilings. There we go. And then you can have a big staircase coming down. So this is an easy way to also be able to walk up tames and stuff. And of course, depending on your landscape, you can, use this in different ways. But at least it's an easy way to get up, even with some bigger creatures. And then on the other side of the building, it's actually a little bit simpler. Here in the middle, we want to go up by 3, and then we want to fill in this entire square. And then this square next to it, we also want to completely fill in. So the middle 2 are going to get a little addition. We want to add in a support there, a support on the corner, and of course, one right here in the middle as well. And then it's quite simple. Here on these sides, we want to add in our staircase all the way down into the ground. And on the other side, the exact same thing. So yeah, you just want to add in these staircases. So this is another option of an entrance into the base. Then we want to start right over here at this corner. We want to take out our railings, and we can add 2 of them right here. So not this last one. Then we can add 3 over here. And of course, we can add them alongside the staircase, wherever it lets us place them. Then here on the front, we also want to continue the railing all the way through. Adding them, of course, on the sides of the staircase, if it's possible. There we go. And then we'll follow them around here. And then once again on this side, we want only 2 right there. Then over here on this side, we want to find this pillar. So there's 2 more left. Then we want to place 2 railings right there. And then we can just continue this all the way until the end. And of course, just follow the shape all the way around until we meet up with where the staircase is. And the staircase itself, of course, we can add them to the side wherever possible. And then on this side, we'll just continue this, and we'll just go all the way around these platforms, all the way over here until we meet back up over here. And then again, you want to make sure you only have 2, not all the way to the corner. And then here, all the way at the end, we can add 3 more ceilings right over there. Okay, then it's time to start here on the main build of the base. Then right over here on this corner, we're going to add 4 pillars. And we're going to do the same thing here over on the other corner, but also right over here. So we'll continue these all the way up like that. So that's going to be it for one side. On the opposite side, we can actually do the same thing. So 4 high, and here to the 4 high pillars on both sides. Then we can leave a gap of 3, add 4 pillars again. From the other side, the same thing, 4 pillars again. Not in the middle, because we're going to have a special door over there. And then on the other side here, we can repeat that pattern. So 3 from the side. We can have a 4 high pillar. Other side, the same thing. A 4 high pillar there as well. To keep things somewhat simple, I'm trying to build everything that I want to turn into steampunk out of stone, and everything that I'm going to change into frontier skins, I'm going to be building out of wood. So for now, we're going to add in a layer of wood right over here, as well as over here on this side, all the way to the end, and here too. Then over here on the other side, we can do the same thing. So fill in these sections with a nice wooden wall all the way across. Oops. But make sure that you leave the middle section completely open for now. Then we can actually add in a few extra pillars in each of these walls. Like that. Same thing over here. So yeah, we just want to fill in all of these extra pillars. And we want to make sure that we've got the beams going across the bottom here all the way. Same thing over here on this side, all the way across the bottom. All right, then we can take out our pillars again and add 1, 2, 3 on top of this. 1, 2, 3. And of course, we do that on both sides, continuing this layer. Then we can take out our gateways right here in the middle. We can add in a gate, and on the other side of the building, we're going to do the exact same thing. And of course, we can add in the actual gates themselves too. Then here at the bottom, we can add in 2 walls just like so. The other side is going to be the exact same thing. So we add in these 2 walls. Then we'll take out our quarter walls and we'll add 6 over here. The other side is going to be the exact same thing, of course. And we want to repeat this for each of these sections. So they should line up with the same height as those wooden walls we placed earlier. So yeah, we're bringing this all the way up. And of course, the other side of the building is going to be the exact same thing. So we just want to bring up these quarter walls like that. Same thing over here. Bring up these quarter walls just like this. There we go. And then over in these sections, we want to fill in the sides with full walls just like this. So we'll do that for each 4 of these sections. So just have the full walls on the sides, leaving the middle part open for now. Just adding in these nice tall walls, just like this. And then in between, we can have 2 quarter walls there, 2 quarter walls there. And once again, repeat that process for all 4 of these sides. So we can just fill all of these in like this, and the same thing over here. So there we go. We've created a bunch of window frames for now. Then on the side, we can actually just fill in this wall completely like this. And then here we only need to leave open the middle one at the bottom. The rest we can fill in all like this. So the other side is going to be pretty much the same thing. So we can fill in all of these and leave the one in the middle open for now. Then we can take out our short doorways. We're going to add 1 over here, 1 at this top, 1 at that top, over here. And of course, the other side is going to be the same thing. So 1 here, 1 there, 1 over there, 1 over here. Then we can take out the tall doorways and we can fill in the rest of these windows just like this, all the way around again. Just filling these all in. There we go. And then we can take out our double doorways, have 1 over here and 1 over there on that side. And of course, we want to fill in these doorways all the way with windows, or well, doors, but we're going to turn them into windows. We're going to fill in these. There we go. There we go. If you do not want to use cosmetics, you use greenhouse doors for this, but we're going to turn them into windows with a nice cosmetic. This one on this side, so where there's no tower, we leave open. And on the other side, of course, we also want to have a door. All right, to make life a little bit easier, we're going to start here on the stairs. So above this doorway, we want to have 3 stairs going up like this. Then we can have a ceiling in the corner, and we can continue this staircase right over there. which means we can start filling in with ceilings. We want to fill in this entire side up to where the pillars go higher. So this side we can fill in, and of course these last two we will leave open. And at the end here we can actually make sure that we overlap it by one full ceiling. Then we can actually bring these across all the way to the other side. So only on the outside layer we're going to have these walkways from one side to the other. And then here outside of these pillars we can once again fill in this entire bit with ceilings. So you create two little rooms. And then of course also on this side make sure that we overlap with one full layer of ceilings on the outside as well. And this is where we bring out some scaffolding to add in some supports to these overhangs on the outside. So full layer of scaffolding there. And then the same thing happens over here on this side once again to just make sure that this looks nicely supported. Then over here we want to have a slope wall like this. Same thing over there. We can have two full walls right next to it, just like this. And then it's time to start a different pattern. We want to have two slope walls going in like so. Then we actually want to have two slope walls up like this. And in the middle, we're going to have some frontier windows. So we'll use wood to indicate that. And yeah, we have a nice little shape there in the middle. Of course, here on the other side, we're going to do the same thing. So we have the slope walls over there. Then we have a full wall right next to it. Then we can create this pattern over here again above the door. And of course, add in the frontier window right over there as well. Then we actually want to bring out our beams and bring them all the way across like this. There we go. And the same thing right over here. So bring them all the way across over there like that. Then here we want to have one staircase over there in the middle. Same thing over there in the middle. And then we can actually fill in another layer of ceilings right here, going from one of these beams to the other. And we can fill this entire thing in so that we have, again, a little bit more space to work with for the next layer of your build, which of course will be quite helpful to have. And of course, here on the inside, we want to make sure that we have a railing around the edge like this, as well as on the side of these stairs, of course. And then we can also have the railing going all the way across the side of these walkways. So we want to make sure that these are nice and safe, of course. So we add in all of the railings as supports. Also next to the staircase, of course, that's going up to the next layer. We can do the same thing. Then we can actually have some pillars right here on the corners as some extra support for the whole build, and it will also just look quite nice. We can then actually continue these layers by bringing these pillars up. We can also have pillars that go up right over here, and above the door where the stairs lead up, we of course want to have a beam across because that's going to be like a little doorway. Then we can have our pillar going across the bottom over here. So we do the same thing on this side. Then we can bring these pillars all the way up. There we go. And of course, a beam above the door. Then here on the sides, you want to have a gap of 2 before we have the pillars going up by 2 as well. So we have it here. And on the other side, we can do the same thing. So make sure that we also have the pillars going up by 2 over here. And then we should be able to fill in these corners with some more slope walls. So we want to make sure that we fill those in now before we forget. And then actually this section we can start filling in with some wooden walls. So we want to go around because these are all going to be in the frontier skins. So we can just go around all the way around this entire room that we have over here. There we go. Filling all of the walls in all the way around, and no windows needed. Now it's time to bring out our quarter ceilings. Start right over here and go along the side of the building until we meet the end. And of course the other side we're going to do the exact same thing. Follow the side of the building until we meet the pillar, and same thing on the other side of the building. follow this along with some quarter ceilings, and over here just follow it along just like that. Then we want to bring out our roof, and we want to go out by 5 in total over here, and then bring it up by 3. On the other side, of course, we're going to do the same thing. So bring it out by 5, bring it up by 3, and it will meet up right over there. Same thing for the roof over here. So bring it out by 5, bring it up by 3 in total. And then, of course, we can repeat this process on this side too. Then we want to take out our wooden walls, fill in 2 over here. We can do that, of course, on each of these sides. So the middle 2, we're going to have 2 wooden walls on top of it. And then on top of those, we want to have our wooden slope walls, because these are going to be more windows with the Frontier skins to get some nice views from here. And then on the side here, we can add in some slope walls made out of stone, because that's going to be more steampunk. So we're going to do that on all of these sections, just like that. Then we want to make sure that we take out the roof corner. We can add in a corner right over here. We should also be able to add in one over here, one over there, and one over here again. So we'll do that on this other section too. So create a corner here, over there, over here, and once again over here as well. And then we can start filling in a little bit more of this roof. We can make this go up by 1, make that go up by 1, and have this stick out 1 on the front, so that we have a little bit of a roof shape here. And then the same thing on the other side, of course. We can fill those in. Then we can fill this in. So we want to make sure that we got that roof going on. Actually, don't forget to add that over here as well. And then on the other side, we're doing the same thing. So we're adding in these roofs wherever we can, just like that. Fill them in like so. And then all we need is a few more corners to add as the last thing. But that will give you quite a cool looking roof with definitely a lot of layers added to the build. So there we go. We fill in all of these that we can. Then, of course, with the corner, we can fill in the last remaining pieces. So we fill in this section of the roof. That should now be complete. Same thing over here, of course. Filling in these last remaining corners. And there we go. Then we can take out our beams and have a beam going across the top of all of these. But we want to make sure that they stick out by 1 more than the actual roof does. And we do the same thing over here on the other side. So add in those. And then this one all the way sticking out. And the same over here like this. Then we want to take out some scaffolding, add 1 underneath, and then connect another one to it like this. So just like that. And we're going to do that for every one of these to just add a little bit more detail to them. And yeah, we'll just go around, add them in everywhere. There we go. Then we want to take out our railings, and then we want to connect them at the underside of the roofs like so. And of course, once again, we'll repeat that for all of these sections, just like this. Over here, following the side of the roof. There we go. For these as well. And then just a few more to go, so we can fill in this, fill in these, and then the big one at the end, we can do the same thing. So have all these railings underneath. And then the end here of this part of the build, we want to have a slope wall there, slope wall there. We want to also have one above, and then we can fill in these with full walls. Then next to this, we actually want to have a layer of quarter walls going up just like this. Then in the middle, we can have a window made out of Frontier, so we'll use some wood. And then of course here at the top, we want to have the wooden slope walls to continue that window for a nice look. So there we go. And of course, we can have a beam going all the way across the bottom here of this section There we go. The other side of the building is going to be the exact same thing. So first of all, we want to start with the slope wall right there and right over here. Same thing over on the other side. Fill in the full wall. Have a layer of these quarter walls going up against them. Then filling in the window in the middle. And of course, adding in these final slope walls. And we will have the pillar going across the bottom all the way like so. Then we're coming down for a little bit and we're going to focus on this section right over here. First of all, we're going to have some scaffolding to support this section. We're going to have some walls right on these corners, just like this. And we're going to have 2 walls right there in the middle. Then here on the side, we're going to create 2 of these quarter walls or ceilings. There we go. Same on the other side. We want to have a pillar right on the corner, as well as just going across the bottom layer of this to kind of support it all. Then we want to have our slope wall, snap it to the right position right over here, and have 2 quarter walls next to it. And then above on the top here, we want to continue our window, so just like this. Then we should be able to take out our roofs and add a nice roof along the top of this, just like so. We can of course have our beams going across, sticking out by 1, bringing in this scaffolding like this, and at the end we also want to have our railings underneath the side of the roofs here, just like that. And there we go. We almost have a little side addition, but this one we actually gonna give some ramps at the end as well to really get a nice curve going, as well as connecting it all the way and breaking up the side of this build completely. And then to continue, we're gonna go right over here. We're gonna add in the next staircase, so we want to go up by 2 over here, and then we can start just filling in the ceilings again. So we want to leave that gap open obviously, but yeah, we can just fill in all of these ceilings to create another layer for the building. And of course we can add in the railings around it, just like so. And then on the side here of the building, we want to once again add a little lip of quarter ceiling. So in the front and at the back, we want to do the same things, just like this. We can get started with adding a layer of roofs. We want to make sure that we go out by 1, and then just we can go across all the way like so. We will do the same thing here on the other side, just like this, going across from one side to the other. And then these last 3 we can actually completely fill in. So we want to make sure that it goes up by 3 in total. The same thing, of course, on the other side. Bring them back down like this. Then leave the middle 2 open, and we can do the same thing over here. So 3 of them all the way up. And then here we just fill in the last 3. Then we can bring our ceilings, and we want to have a layer sticking out like this. Then, of course, we will bring that all the way across to the other side. And once again, make it stick out by 1. Then, of course, we want to add in another staircase. So over here, we just want to make sure that you have a way to get up to this layer too. As for this roof, of course, we want to create these beams, have them stick out by 1 on the end, just like this. Add in the scaffolding pieces like so. And the same thing, of course, here on the other side. There we go. And then, of course, we want to have the railing underneath, like we've done with every roof so far. So we'll just add these railings in like that on this side. Same thing here on the other side as well. Some nice little details, just like this, going all the way across. And then for these walls, what we want to do first is bring out our slope walls. Add 2 of them right over here. Same thing on the other side, just like this. We can have a full wall underneath, and then we can have a layer of quarter walls connected to the side of it. We've done this before, so we're just going to do the same thing to create a nice big window here on this side, just like that, with the Frontier skins. And of course, on the other side, we're going to do the exact same thing. So we have our slope walls that we add in over here. Then we have a full wall and a layer of these quarter walls right next to it. And then we can make another window in the middle with the Frontier skins. There we go. And of course, we want to make sure that we add the beam going across from one side to the other. Because, I mean, that just adds a nice little bit extra. So we want to have it over here. And of course, the other side, we also want to add this in. You might have to try and get through all these snap points, but you should be able to add it in just like that. Then we actually also want to add in the beams around this layer, except for where the staircase is, because that's going to be a doorway, of course. And then we can just add them all the way around this little platform that we've got created over here. Then there's a little bit of extra supports for this layer. What you could do is add in some scaffolding, except over here, because obviously there is a staircase there. So we're going to add in these. If it doesn't let you do both, you could, of course, take away these railings for now, because this already kind of prevents you from doing that. And then we can add in these as well to make sure that this looks properly supported. So this is a little bit more of a cozy nook here in the building, especially this part, of course. But, you know, there is a lot of different rooms and spaces in this build. Then here on the outside, we also want to take out a scaffolding. We're going to add 2 of them right over here as well as over there. So as a nice way to support this final layer. And then we'll repeat that process over here to create those nice supports everywhere. Then we want to add our little door right there, and for the rest we can just have some normal walls on the sides here, 2 high, just going from one side to the other, and the other side, of course, you can just completely fill in like this. Then we can have pillars going up 3 high here at this end, and of course we want to do the same thing here on the other side, so pillars going up by 3, just like that. And then we want to have a beam going across the top of the wall that we've just created, so just like this. And then for these sections we can add in some extra pillars around the side, and then we want to add in our wooden walls, which is going to be our Frontier walls, to fill in the top layer of this part. There we go. Then here at the end, we actually want to raise up these pillars by 1 more. And we can also connect them back to each other with some beams. Oh, just like that. And then we can take out our quarter walls. We can start filling in the bottom layer and all the way along this side until we reach the top. And then we can just kind of follow the edges all the way back down again. And of course, we want to do the same thing here on the other side of the building. So we'll just kind of follow the entire shape of this wall right here, all the way from one side to the other. And then here in the middle, we want to add in our windows, the Frontier windows. So we'll just fill in the walls for now. And here on this side, we want to add in some full ceilings along the building, just like this. And of course, we'll do the same thing over here, all the way along the side. Then we can take out our scaffolding once again, and we want to add 1 of them each gap that we can as some nice supports here along the side of the building. And we'll do the same thing over here, adding all of these supports in all the way from start to finish. And then we can add in our slope walls just like this. Same thing over here on the other side, filling them in all the way from top to bottom. And then it's time for our roofs. Quite simple. We just want to start filling this in all the way and have 1 overhang of an entire roof. So just like that. And we'll do the same thing on the other side, of course. And then we are going to add in some windows to this roof, but that's with the steampunk skin, so we don't need to worry about that just yet. And we'll go all the way across, and of course have the beam stick out at the end by 1 on both sides. And then we can add in our little scaffolding bit just like this. and just like that on the other side. And then also we want to make sure that we have the railings underneath the edges of the roof, as we've done everywhere. There we go, just along the side like that. And if you're gonna skin them into the steampunk skins, as you can see on my original build, I've changed some of them to have these little windows, as well as this one in the middle over here on these sections, just to kind of bring in a few extra windows if you wanted to. That's the beauty of these steampunk skins. All right, well, the main building is almost standing, but we do have some nice overhanging roofs on the front and the back of the build as well. So we want to take out our pillars. We start right over here on top of these pillars, make them go up by 2. Then we can have a gap of 2, and we can go to 3 high, and another gap of 2, and we can go to 5 high. And then on the other side, of course, we're going to repeat that process. So we're going to go 2 high, then we have a gap of 2, and we're going to go 3 high, and then we have a gap of 2, and we're going to go 5 high in total. And then we can actually also have some beams across from one side to the other between these two. And we can actually continue that in the middle section of this as well. So we want to have a pattern like this. Looks a little bit weird, but we will figure all of this out. And on the other side of the building, we want to do the same thing. So 2 high, a gap of 2, and then a pillar of 3, and then another gap, and then a pillar of 5 in total. And then we'll repeat it here again. 2, gap of 2, 3 high, another gap of 2, and then 5 high. And then we want to bring this beam all the way across like that. Now we want to take out our ramps, and you want to make sure that you snap them here to the pillar. Now maybe you can get the snap point right away. If it doesn't happen, you can also place a wall temporarily, snap it against the wall, and then take the wall away. That might be a little bit easier. And we want to make sure that we have 3 of these ramps going across like this. And then we also want to bring this up by 3 until we meet that next pillar. So we want to just have this slope. And of course, we're going to have that same thing going on here on the other side, just like that. And of course, on the other side of the building, we want to do the same thing as well. So we want to bring up these ramps like that. And then one more side over here. So we just want to fill in all of these ramps to get this shape going. And there we go. Then we can change to our roofs, and we should be able to just start filling in the rest of this until we meet it in the middle. So we just want to bring this up until we're right here in the middle of the building. Should line up perfectly with the height of where the other roof starts here. So then we can just, of course, on the other side, bring it back down so that it all meets each other again. And then we have one of these roofs complete. So on the other side, we will try to do the same thing. So first of all, we're going to start bringing this roof up to the middle here. There we go. And then of course we start bringing it all the way back down until it meets up with itself again. And then we have the shape of the roof in place. So that is a nice entrance to the base. We'll take out our railings because we also want to make sure that we add in the railings underneath this section, just like this. So we're just going to kind of follow it along all the way around the edge like that. And of course, on both sides, we want to make sure that we get that done. So here as well, just following it all the way along the edge of the roof, just like that. And then we can bring out our beams, and we can make sure that we add them in on the top, stick it out by 1 again. Same thing over here, just like that. And of course, underneath, we want to add these 2 scaffolding pieces. Same thing here over on the other side. So add in these 2. And then we want to add in a few more scaffolding pieces. So we're going to start right here at the corner of these roofs. And we want to start bringing up the scaffolding all the way along the inside of the roof to also kind of create some more support looking beams. And you actually want to make sure that we bring it one further down than the roof itself, all the way up to that corner. And then we can actually add in these ones too, just to kind of add some extra support and a little bit more shape to the entire thing. And then if you really want to, you can also add in some extra railings right here to still kind of continue that support beam. You can just use the steampunk skin on them, or maybe you can use the Frontier one if you prefer that, if you want to keep with the wood theme. And of course, now that we've done it one side, we need to do it on both sides. So right over here, we want to make sure that we bring this scaffolding all the way across the bottom of the roof here to also create that support on this side. So there we go, all the way up to there. And then of course here we can add in that little bit of extra shape that we want, just like that. And then on the sides in between, we can add in some extra railings just like that. Same thing over here, just like this. And there we go. That should give us the main building completely done. Once again, everything that is made of stone should be the steampunk skins. Everything that's made of wood should be the Frontier wood or the Frontier glass if you want to make a window out of it. And then these windows that we have in front over here, I would recommend using the Dwarven custom cosmetic on, because they have a nice variation to also make it into glass, as you can see, and it works quite well with the steampunk skins. Alright, then it's time to get started here on the tower that is next to this main building. We want to go in a little bit until we meet these two ceilings, and then we want to have a pillar right there on the corner that is 4 high, and then we want to find the same ceilings over here and have another pillar that is 4 high on that side. Then we switch to the other side of the building, the same thing over here, have a pillar that is 4 high, and then find this corner as well to repeat that process again. Then we want to have the gateways. We want to follow the same line and have the gateway over here. So yeah, that is the same line as we used for those pillars. And then we want to have another gateway at the opposite side of that. So that's going to be another entrance. And then in between these two, we also want to have one on that side and then one on this side as well. So that should complete the circle. Then we want to take out our walls and bring them up to be 3 high over here. And we're going to kind of do that for all of these sections. So we're going to start shaping our tower, and then you'll see you have a 2 wide walkway around the place, and the rest is going to be the tower itself, which I utilized as like a breeding facility, but of course you're free to do with it what you want. But yeah, we want to kind of just follow the shape to get our tower in place. So just like this, that should already bring in most. And then we can add in another layer on top with some wood. Unfortunately, we can't do it just yet above the gateways because we do not have the snap points yet. But for now, at least for the other walls, we can bring them up a little bit higher. So we want to just go around like this. And then we want to take out our ceilings and add them in the right spots. So basically, you're mirroring whatever happens below the walls. So in some of these walls, that means we can already add in the full ceilings. All ones will wait for a little bit. Just like this. We'll go all the way around. And then we can bring out some triangles as well to connect to the sides of this. And we can slowly but surely start filling out a little layer on the outside of the wall that we've just created. That will help us get all the way around for the roof, as well as the last little bits of wall that we need to be able to fill in. So bring that all across. Then we should be able to fill in these sections as well now with some full ceilings. And of course, we can now also add in these walls so that we can actually complete the whole circle like that. We want to then also bring in some pillars. So we want to add in the pillars right there. Want to add in the pillars on the sides of these, just above the gateways everywhere, so all the way around. And then we want to add in some beams across the bottom of this section. So just like this, all the way around the entire build, connecting the beams up like so. Then we want to make sure that we add this ceiling in for now so that we can start with our staircase. So right over there, we want to add in a stair. Then we're going to have a few of our triangles, just like this. Again, following the shape of the entire building. Then we can have 2 more staircases coming down over here. We can have 1 little triangle over there. And then we can add in the final staircase over here. Of course, we want to add in our railings to the side of this, all the way up like that. And now we have a staircase to get up to this layer, but we also want to start filling in this entire layer. So basically, we're gonna just fill in the entire circle, so it's just repeating the same pattern as we usually do all the way around until we've met up with the middle and with each other, basically. So this is going to be the next layer of the tower that we'll build, and this is a pretty sizable addition, of course, because of the extra room you get by going out by 1 again. So yeah, you kind of just want to go back and forth between the normal ceilings and the triangles to fill in the entire circle of the base, and then before you know it, you've ended up all the way around back until the middle. And before we continue all the way up, we also want to add in some scaffolding. So we're going to go to this corner right over here. We're going to add 2 of them there. We're going to have 2 over here like this. Then we're going to have 2 over here, none over there, 2 over here. On this corner, we're going to have 2, and then 2 more over there, just to give an extra support here to the roof. All right, we want to take out our stone triangle roof, and we want to add in a layer of them right over here. We can do the same on this section, of course. Again, we're following the pattern of the ceilings below it. So wherever there's triangles, there's need a triangle roof above it. So we're just going to go around like this for now, following them and adding them in to get the roof of this tower started. Then right here above one of these entrances that has full ceilings above it, you want to change in the roof corners, and you want to add in a corner like that. And on the opposite side, we're going to do the same thing. It's only going to work right over here because there's full ceilings there. So we're not going to do it over here because it makes no sense. There's no entrance there, and these entrances don't have the full ceilings. Then we want to fill in these full roofs in the remaining bits that we haven't been able to fill in just yet, so we can complete the whole circle, and then we can connect another layer above it. So now we want to, everywhere we have the triangles, the next layer is going to be the full roofs, etc, etc. So we want to go around again and fill in this next layer of the roof just like this. And then of course we want to have our triangles in these other sections to make sure that it all connects back up to each other again. And that is the 2 layers of the roof that we'll be building just for now. So we can go around and fill all of these in, making sure that this layer of the roof is completely done. And once again, you can add in some windows by using the steampunk skins on these normal roofs. I would add them on this layer and not on that layer. Makes a little bit more sense. Then we want to spruce up the entrances here. So what we want to do is expand it by 1 roof going up and then 1 roof going down here. We should be able to add another roof without any issues. So that's what we'll start with on both sides. We'll bring these roofs down like this and bring it back down like that. Now there's 2 ways to go about this. If you are an official, you can't do any collisions. This is the way you want to have it. I don't think that's too bad. That's totally fine. If you want to try to fill this in a little bit more and you have collisions, what you could do is have a stone corner roof or just a corner roof and place it there. It does have a slight overlap to the inside, but it's not too bad, so you can definitely live with that. But I'll leave that up to you. For now, for the tutorial, I'll leave those out. And then here on the top, of course, we want to add in the beams and make the beams stick out by 1, 2. And then, of course, on the other side here, we're going to do the same thing. So bring out this side and then bring in these roofs just like that to add a little bit more shape to it and create that nice looking entrance. And then to create even more shape to the entrance, we can have a layer of ramps. Once again, this is where it's going to end, or you have to be able to overlap it onto the inside, but that only makes sense if you also have that piece. So once again, there is a little bit of difference, but yeah, I still think this is worth it because it's mostly just to make the entrance stand out a little bit more, and it still does the job like this. Then over here on the inside, we can have some beams going across like that, and we can then have pillars that come down from that section all the way down into the platform like this to have some nice supports. Then of course we can have some scaffolding to kind of support all of this. You could even get some scaffolding to go into that way, and of course we want to have the scaffolding underneath the roof like that. We also want to add in our railings to follow the edge of the roof all the way from one side to the other. And here on the inside we want to add in some wooden slope walls so that we can make a little window in there to let in a little bit of extra light. We're going to do the same thing, of course, over here on that side. And then of course these details we also want to repeat. So we want to make sure that this beam sticks out. We want to have the beam going across like that. Then we'll bring the pillars down into the walkway just like this. Scaffolding to support it. And of course, scaffolding underneath there as well. And then following this with some railings, as well as adding in these ramps at the end to create that little extra curve to the roof, just to add that little extra to it. And of course, also want to have the railings underneath that section. Then we can bring out our beams and go across the top of the roofs here and just follow the entire circle all the way around, just like this. Then we can take out our pillars and start adding them in too. So we just want to make sure that we add in all of them all the way around, just like this. And there we go. Then we can take out our wooden walls and add those in between to create the next layer of the tower. Once again, this is going to be Frontier skinned, and we want to add that layer in all the way across to kind of get to the next layer for the tower built. There we go. And then of course, before we start the next layer, let's also work on the way up there. So for now, we can of course make all supports next to this entry of the stairs. If you want to, you can of course also make this a little bit longer if you don't like it to be this low, but this should be the minimum for sure. Then the next layer starts right here. So we want to have a staircase starting here. Then we'll have some of these triangles again, because we're trying to follow the same shape as the ceilings underneath. So we'll have another stair, some more triangles, and then another stair to get to the right layer. And once again, of course, we want to make sure that we have our railings alongside the side of this staircase so that it's all safe. That one we definitely don't need. All safe all the way up. And then this is the next layer where we're going to start working with, and this is also where we want to start filling in this layer pretty much. So yeah, we can also extend it on the outside. So we want to follow the same kind of pattern as we have below so that we can fill in the entirety of the circle. So we just want to start filling in them wherever we can, just like this. And then of course we're going to go back and forth between ceilings and triangle ceilings to fill in this entire shape as best as we can. Just going around all the way like this. There we go. And above the staircase, we want to go up to this point, and then we can kind of go around it. So for now, we'll fill in these triangles. We'll fill in the middle here as well. And then we can kind of make sure that we leave a little gap open, of course, for the staircase to get up. And we want to make sure that we add our railings around it. And then wherever we have the triangles here on the outside, we're going to complete the full circles, which are going to be nice landing pads for your snow owls or different flyers that are not too big, but can be on these walkways that are going to be on the outside of the tower, which I think is a really nice little addition. And then here underneath, we of course want to add in the scaffolding everywhere. So we're just going to go around like this and make sure that we have some nice supports for these walkways all the way around the entire thing. And of course, around the outside here, we can actually add in some railings so that we have, you know, safety first. We don't want to fall off, as well as, I mean, the railings is from the steampunk ones, they look very nice as well. So it's a pretty cool look. And yeah, we're just gonna go all the way around the entire outside of this walkway until we have gone all the way. We're going to have two doors. We're going to have one door here and on the other side as well. So these are the access points to actually get to these walkways. And then above the door, we're going to add 3 more walls. Same over here. And then all of these sides where there's one ceiling, we want to add in these walls to get started with. So for now, we can go around just like this and create the start of this tower. And then once we have that, we can also add in our pillars right to the side of these to get the structure going. So adding in all of these all the way around the building, just like this. Not like that. And then we just continue these all the way until we've gone completely around the build. There we go. And of course, we can also add in the doors themselves. We can then have a layer of these quarter walls all the way up until the same height on both sides of these bits that are still open. So we just want to bring them all the way up. And again, we're going to do this for all of these sections where we have no walls yet. So we're just going to bring up these all the way like that for all of these different sections. So yeah, it's a lot of repeating the same thing, but it's going to be worth it in the end. And we're getting closer and closer to the top of the tower. So hang in there just a little bit more, and then we've got a really cool base to work with. So we'll just fill in all these here too, all the way up till the right height, and then one more, I think, after this. So just like that. And yeah, one more over here, bringing this up all the way like that, and like this. There we go. Then in between, for all of these sections, we want to make sure that we get a full wall in there. So just like that, in the middle of all of them, we want to add these full walls in. There we go. And then on top of that, we can actually add in a beam. So just go around like this. And then on top of that, we can start filling in the windows. So these are going to be Frontier windows again. So we'll just continue this up by 3 on all sides like this. There we go. And then above that, we want to add in our little slope walls, which is going to be the end of our window. So we're going to have some nice tall windows on all sides of the tower, which is going to look really cool. You're going to get plenty of light. Then on these in-between sections, we want to bring out these triangles just like this, because we're going to have to start working on the roof, which is of course going to slightly stick out. So for now. We want to connect these triangles everywhere. And then we want to make sure that we bring in these sloped walls like this. There we go. Just bringing that back into the main structure. And once we've done that, we can start filling in those sections with our triangle roofs, which should fit perfectly between those walls that we've just placed. So we just want to start filling this all in like so. Just like that. And then once we're all the way around, we want to switch to the corners. We can add in the corners just like this to create the shapes in front of the windows. So we can go all the way around for all of these sections, just like that. There we go. All the way until we meet back up with the start. And then what we actually want to do is for these remaining parts, we want to also make sure that we fill in these walls. Now that we have the snap points available, we can add those in around the whole base so that we don't have any gaps. And of course, we can add in our beams, having the little overhang on each section of this roof to keep the same kind of style going that we've had for the entirety of the build. Just like that all the way through. And then of course we can add in our scaffolding as well. There we go. Just like that. Continuing that pattern all the way around the build. And then in between here, we can also add in some of these supports if you want to, just to get that little bit extra going in these in-between sections where otherwise there's not a lot going on. And then it's time to continue with the roof. We want to take out our triangles above the sections where we've just built these additions. So we can bring these all up like so. And add in these 3 triangles above those. Just like that. And then in between we want to have our full roofs all the way around. There we go. And then one more layer where we're going to add our full roofs first. There we go. And then of course we want to make sure that we have some triangles in between to fill in these sections. And again, you can add some additional windows in these sections. I would do that in the middle of these. Then we want to fill in our beams all the way around the top of the roof that we currently have. We want to make sure that we also add in these pillars and of course on the sides of the build as well. And then in between we can make sure that we add in our wooden walls again. Another little frontier section is going to be built there. And then for this top part, we want to fill in everything but one. This is where we're going to have our ladder going down. Now, you should still be able to do this and still fit down. At least it would for me. So we can have those beams around it at least. And then, of course, we want to expand this a little bit to create a little platform to walk around on. So we're going to bring out these with full ceilings, add a layer of these triangles all the way around. Then along the outside, we also want to add in the beams all the way around this little platform that we've created. And then underneath the platform, we of course want to make sure that we add in our scaffolding supports all the way around, just like this. There we go. So that looks quite nice. And then of course along this side of this, we want to make sure that we add in our railings all the way along the side. There we go. We also want to make sure that we have them here. And then we want to continue our pillars. So we want to make sure that we have 2 over here, make them 2 high. We're going to do the same thing over there. And then, of course, we can continue these pillars as well. Then we want to take out our full ceilings, add them like this. And then we can start basically making the same circle again on the outside. So we'll add these triangles in. Then we can add some more of our full ceilings around. And then the final 2 triangles just like that. In the middle here, we can actually add in some more beams as supports. Then we can also make sure that we add the scaffolding around this part of the build. Just like that, all the way around the platform again. And then it's time to do the final roof. So we're going to start with these normal roof pieces everywhere. There we go. Fill in the middle with the triangle sections for the roof, just all the way around. And then of course the final layer of the roof is just filling in the remaining triangles. And then if you want to, we can actually bring in a little thin pillar on the top as well. And if you want to look a little bit nicer, you can continue that pillar down until it reaches here. And then we can have some beams going all the way around to just look like some extra supports. Now, as for the ladder, I personally really like the look of the rope ladder here. And we can just make this come down in here, of course. You don't need it all the way to the ground. I would do it like this so that you can still walk around without issues. And then if you just jump, you can easily jump onto this layer. And as I said, at least in my testing in my other build, I could still fit through this little gap over here so that you can easily still get to the tower. Then we want to go all the way back down here. We can, of course, add in some of the gates to this building itself so that it is nice and secure and you can close it off when you want to. And of course, we want to start adding in some of the railings around this place as well. So we want to make sure that it's all good to go. So we want to have the railings on the sides of the stairs wherever we're allowed. And of course, around the entire outside of the walkway that we have here as well. So we want to just kind of follow this entire place around to make it nice and safe to use. So we'll just continue like this and fill them in wherever we're allowed to place them, just going all the way around the outside of the walkway until we've done the entire loop of the place. There we go, just a few more, and then we get to here. Of course, this is also where we want to add in some railings in this in-between section. Speaking of this in-between section, we can make this a little bit nicer as well by continuing this pillar up by 2 in total. Then here on the outside, we want to create a little layer of these quarter ceilings. The same thing we want to do here on this side. And then, of course, we can add in some roofs. Now, you just want to have 2 roofs going up to one side. You might have to remove the scaffolding if it doesn't let you place the roofs. But yeah, you don't really need them anymore at that point. Now, you can at least go up to this place without running into any issues. And then once again, I think this is a very slight overlap because of the size difference between full ceilings and triangles. So technically, there's now a very slight overlap to the inside. So I'm not sure if that's possible on official. Otherwise, just leave these last ones out and you still have a somewhat connected walkway between the 2 sections. And then, of course, here we can add some beams on the top on the outside part of that. And if you want to have a little bit more details below this, you can add a little layer of scaffolding going from one side to the other to have a little bit of support. Then there's a few more extra details that we can add. The most simple one is, if you want to, you can actually also add in some railings on top of the beams that we have above all the roof pieces. It's a little extra addition. Of course, it does cost you a bunch of extra materials, but it does look quite nice. Again, the steampunk railings are quite nice. So if you want to, this is definitely an addition you could consider. So you want to do that here on the tower, but I would actually, if you start doing it, just do it pretty much everywhere, just for that extra little bit of nice details. And it doesn't take you that long to add them in and you know, skin them to the steampunk look, which is quite nice in my opinion. And then you just want to kind of do that for all of these different sections of the roof. Gives a little extra detail, a little bit of the spikes on top of the roof, basically. Maybe a little bit of a gothic appearance, you could say. So yeah, we want to do that everywhere. If you do it, I would do it everywhere, just to keep the consistency. But it doesn't take that long, luckily, to add them to the top of all of these beams. So there we go. That's another little extra detail that you can do. And then, of course, if you build it on pillars, you have the decision to make. You could, of course, close this off with walls. Otherwise, I would at least go around and connect them with scaffolding like this, just for the extra looks. Of course, we can also do that on the other sides here, at least where it is possible, just to make it look like it's all properly being supported. Now, this does, of course, take a little bit of time to make sure that you get them all in place. I would at least do them for all the ones that are on the outside layer so that you can actually see them. If you want to do it on the inside layers, I'll leave that up to you personally, but you know, it is another little way to add in just a little bit of extra details around your base. It's one of the easiest places, of course, to reach because it's just underneath, so it shouldn't be too difficult to get to. And yeah, we can just add them in all the way around the base if you want to. It does, of course, require some work. You can do the same thing for the other section. Not going to do all of that now because, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You just want to add them wherever you've got a pillar to kind of make the supports look a little bit nicer. But there we go. That is how you build this all-in-one steampunk base. Let's do a quick little tour of the base itself. So here we go. This is the full steampunk base, fully skinned. As I said, everything that was stone should just be turned into the steampunk skins, and all the wood is either the normal Frontier wood or the windows, if it makes sense to be a window. But yeah, then you get a really cool steampunk looking base. Now, if you're wondering where are all the windmills and the other wheels coming from, it's a combination of the Castle Keep and Forts mod, as well as the Castle Craft Deco mod. I also have a lot of the steampunk deco mod to just bring the place to life, but again, those are all optional things that you can add later to turn it into even of a cooler base. But even without it, it still looks pretty cool. So the base clearly has two different sections. As you can see, we have the main base, and then we've got the tower that I've mostly used for breeding. So on the inside, you will find a nice little breeding spot for all your hatching. We've got some cryos as well, all the things that you might need right here at the bottom of the tower. Then if we go up to the next layer, I've made some place for some gachas. So yeah, you do have a decent amount of space here. I've also turned the middle triangle circle into the glass variation of the steampunk skin, so you can still look down and up between the different layers, which I think is a really cool touch. And again, I've changed some of these to the windows to let in some extra light. But yeah, you can definitely get a really nice build going. And then the next layer is a library up here. So we got some places to hang out. Again, we've got the glass ceiling so that we can still kind of see through to the different layers. And then the walkways on the outside I've also made out of the glass for the same reason. I really like those different textures. So yeah, we have some spots to park flyers, as I said. And then if you climb all the way to the top, you can of course get to the tower, and you've got a really cool place to look out over your surroundings. So that is the tower. But then the main base itself, it definitely has some charm to it as well, and some decent amount of size. As I said, these platforms are great for your flyers or your gas bags, and you can even have some forges out here if you want to, or a little bit of storage and crafting, whatever you prefer to utilize. And then on the inside, you have a decent amount of space. The replicator fits inside. Your crafting station should also easily fit inside. You can have some storage. I've also have some visual storage, but you could of course change these into vaults or dedicated storage if you're playing vanilla. We got a very small little bit of greenhouse here at the back. Not the effectiveness, but at least you got a place or spot to grow them, or you could turn it into a toilet, of course, or whatever you want to use it for. And this, of course, connects back up to the tower. But in here, we can actually go all the way up, and we have a little crafting area with a little bit more of optional storage. On the other side, we've got a cute little kitchen going on with a little cozy place. I've placed some of these water reservoirs as a little bit of extra details, and they kind of also look like pipes, painting some of the regions in gold. And then we've got this room out here as well with a decent amount of space. Just kind of made it a lounge room as well. And then for the next layer, we have the entrance, of course, to the final room, but we also have some more space in here with some more places to have additional storage, or in my case I just kind of made it look nice. But of course, if it's your actual base, you can probably find a use for every one of these rooms. And then up here you got the bedroom and your respawn points, a little bit of personal storage and your personal cryo, whatever you want. And yeah, again, some big windows to let in some pretty nice light as well. And then we can go all the way back down out of the base, and yeah, there we go. That is how you built this steampunk base. I quite like this one. I really like it, and especially seeing it with some proper lights. I mean, I did some steampunk builds on the aberration, of course, but with the light, it just really hits different. And I think this definitely is the best steampunk build I've done so far. So yeah, quite happy with that. So hopefully if you ended up building this, you're gonna enjoy your base as well. And if you want to see the tour in more detail, check out the full video, the full tour that I made on my channel too. And for now, thank you so much for watching this build tutorial. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I hope to see you again in the next one. And feel free to leave some suggestions down below in the comments. For now, goodbye.